So, episode 3, cutscene convos.
3 weeks in a row now.
Yeah, I know, we're getting closer.
We are close to a habit.
And you know what? This episode is probably the least stressful episode I've had to prepare for because, I mean, everything's just been handed to us on a plate for this week. It's Moon Knight week, baby.
Yeah, like I said to you earlier in a message, was like, this is the first week where it feels like something kind of big, Marvel or DC, has actually happened between the weeks.
Yeah.
Because obviously we haven't got any show episodes at the moment to be discussing, so it's kind of like hoping stuff, but yeah.
I think this is going to be a better indication of the length of episodes once we get into the meaty part of the year.
Yeah, and just like kind of also the way that the like week by week will flow, I guess.
Yeah.
With new stuff coming up.
So before we get into the infinite amount of stuff to discuss with Moon Knight, the Batman runtime got announced today. Have you seen what that was yet?
Yeah, so I saw your note on it and I looked it up, and it's 2 hours 55, right?
Yeah. I know some people aren't a fan of films like getting that close to 3 hours. I personally, as a cinephobe, fucking love films that long.
I love when Marvel films are like this long. Because those films, if it was a film that's kind of, it's a thing of like, I know that Marvel and like those action superhero films will keep me fully engaged for 3 hours, and that 3 hours will fly by, and I'll even want longer than 3 hours.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. I came out of Venom 2, which I really enjoyed, and that was only just over an hour and a half. And I literally, one of the first things I said to my girlfriend as we were leaving was, I could have done with another 20 minutes of that.
Yeah, I feel like what was once like the standard of kind of like an hour and a half.
Yeah, like, we're moving away from that again.
So short now. Because I think the problem is we get TV episodes now that are like an hour long.
Yeah, that's literally what I was going to say. Because TV is getting bigger than film now, people have realised if they're going to go to the extent of making a film, they may as well fucking make it worth it.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I won't be surprised if that 2 hour and 55-minute runtime turns some people away. But I also know for a fact some people who are a bit iffy about this project will see that length and go, okay, there's plenty of time for them to build a really compelling story.
Yeah.
It makes me very excited.
Yeah. And I after seeing that, I then looked up, out of interest, I went and looked up the Batman Trilogy runtimes.
Christopher Nolan's?
Yeah, because they're still kind of considered everyone's favourite Batman films.
It's the best live-action Batman we've had.
So Batman Begins, the first one was 2 hours 20, then Dark Knight was 2 hours 32, and then Dark Knight Rises was 2 hours 45. So this is longer than
all of them.
Dark Knight Rises.
Do you know what? I would not have guessed them films were that long. I'd have said they were all between hour and 50 and 2 hours 20.
Yeah, the first two I can't say that I thought they were shorter than they are. I knew Dark Knight Rises was a longer one because it was around that time of films were just starting to like creep towards the 3 hour end, and people obviously it was like it wasn't as common.
I'm fully here for it. I remember like third week in a row. I'm going to mention it again. The Snyder cut of the Justice League is just like it's like 4 hours long. And we watched it obviously on TV with my family, and they're all like, okay, can we pause this so I can have a pee break? And I'm just sitting there like, why? Just keep it going. You're ruining the flow. That runtime.
The reason films being like 3 hours, going 3 hours nearly now, is the reason I no longer buy drinks at the cinema.
Oh, I still buy my large drink, my large popcorn. No. And you know what? I run out of it after all the credits are over, and I have a big old pee, and I go, oh, that was very good. Every bit of it.
I can't do that because what happens is, especially with Marvel films, if I have been holding a piss and then it's like the lights start to come on as the credits begin, I know my body's like, oh, it's time. We can finally rush off to the bathroom. I'm like, no, there's
the urge just gets stronger.
Yeah, the urge gets stronger, and I'm sat there like, there's post-credit scenes. I have to watch them. So I just don't buy a drink anymore. I avoid that.
Now we're done with the Batman news. Let's get on to the meaty bit, Moon Knight.
What we want to talk about.
We're going to do the character profile here in a minute.
Yep.
But before I get into that, having just gone from Batman into Moon Knight, I do not want to see any comments going, Moon Knight is just Marvel's Batman. They are similar, but they are very different as well. So let's just remember that, please. Okay, so I do have my notes here somewhere. Boom.
I'm going to preface that I know next to nothing about Moon Knight, other than, and I could be wrong here, and you'll correct me, but all I know is he's possessed by some Egyptian god, I think.
I'll give you a half point for that.
Okay.
So the Egyptian god you're talking about is called Khonshu.
Okay.
He is the Egyptian god of moon and vengeance.
Of course.
And he chose Moon Knight, aka Mark Spector, as his soldier. Another one of Moon Knight's nicknames is the Fist of Khonshu.
Okay.
But here's the thing with that. And again, I don't know loads and loads about this character. I've done research, so I might get things wrong. So Mark Spector has DID, which, for those unaware, is a mental health condition known as dissociative identity disorder, which means he has multiple personalities.
Right.
And is very mentally unstable. And even in his comics, he is not a reliable narrator. So I'm not sure if we can take that this god actually exists as gospel. He could just be an illusion of Mark Spector's mind.
Oh.
Now, I know in some comics he definitely is a real character, and I know in others it's more played towards the end of, despite all the superheroes knowing gods exist, they all kind of pretend this god doesn't. So, like, they play with that concept of is he real, isn't he real a lot.
Right, yeah.
But Mark Spector has three main identities that are used a lot in the comics, and I think we're going to see them in the TV show. We have Mark Spector, who is a CIA-trained assassin.
Oh.
We have Stephen Grant, who is a multi-millionaire. And we have Jake Lockley, who is a taxi driver in New York City. So the way they kind of play this off in the comics is Moon Knight is how good at what he is because of what these three personalities give him, which is obviously Mark's skills as an assassin, the money and resources of Stephen Grant, and then Jake Lockley's knowledge of the streets as a taxi driver. But it's really interesting. This is the bit that was melting my mind reading it. So I'm going to need people to try and focus up as best they can. And feel free to call me out if I'm getting this wrong. So, we don't actually know for certain if Moon Knight does have superpowers. Due to how unreliable a narrator he is, it's in some cases he has been depicted as when the moon is a full moon, i.e. at the moon's at its strongest, he can lift up to 4,000 pounds. And then depending on where the moon is in its cycle, he has more or less power.
Right.
But again, we don't know for sure if that's the case or if that's just Mark's mind playing tricks on him. Yeah. This
TV show is going to fuck with my head.
It is going to be an absolute mind fuck. But we're not. I don't want to get too much onto the TV show now. We'll do that next because we're just going to try and talk about the character as he is in the comics. So, I mean, I urge people to go and look for Moon Knight panels on the internet because there are some very funny ones out there, but there's also some fake ones out there. So there's a very iconic one which is like a random bullshit goat, which I think is a fake one. But then there's one where he has an interaction with Punisher.
I saw this.
Yeah, and Punisher goes, "How's your fake god, Mark?" And he goes, "Great, how's your dead family?" That is a real panel.
Yeah, and then isn't it? It's like still punching people up on the streets. Yeah, he's like, still shooting people up on the streets, aren't you? Yeah.
So like, he's an absolute savage, and we're gonna have some real fun with this character, I think. But yeah, he's a lot. He does have crescent moons and stuff that are used similar to batarangs. He does have a kind of style that's similar to Batman, except obviously he wears white. And he is. Do you know what I could put it as if people want to force the Batman comparison? He is a more accurate version of Batman. He is someone who is very obviously mentally unstable, going out and fighting crime.
Yeah, not just some billionaire.
Yeah. They essentially went, what if we told Batman in a more honest way of he's crazy? But this panel I saw, which I absolutely fucking love. I'm not gonna say this is verbatim, but the idea is he wears white so that his enemies see him and know it's him, and that way it doesn't matter that they see him because their hand's going to be shaking so badly they can't shoot him anyway. That's how he's he's such a badass. And one of my favorite things. So Taskmaster as a villain. Their power obviously is that they can watch someone fight and then mimic them perfectly.
Yeah.
So, as I'm sure you can imagine, this makes them quite a formidable foe for a lot of superheroes. There are two people Taskmaster hates fighting. Deadpool, because he is too unpredictable to fight, and therefore he can't work out what he's going to do or how to copy him. And Moon Knight, because Moon Knight fights quite recklessly, in the sense of he doesn't ever block a punch. He'll just wear it.
Right.
Someone goes to punch him in the face, he'll just keep throwing punches and get hit in the face. He doesn't care. Which makes Taskmaster scared to fight him, and also he refuses to imitate him.
Yeah, because then he'd just be taking punches.
Exactly. So he's like, well, normally I beat people by imitating them, and then the person doesn't know how to beat themselves, but Mark doesn't try and defend whatsoever. He just will let the shit get kicked out of him.
That's actually the biggest outplay.
That's just how batshit crazy he is. And I've just realised I missed a point about his powers.
Oh.
So while we're not 100% sure if he does have powers or not, there is a line I keep seeing written in a lot of literature where people discuss the character, that he is so crazy and his mind has gone through so much mental torture and manipulation through Khonshu and his multiple personalities and a bad childhood, that actually his mind might be so powerful that is a superpower in and of itself, and it allows him to unlock like a higher level of strength and stuff. So like crazy power, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is Moon Knight. Do you have any questions before?
Not that I think of. He's definitely way more of a mindfuck than I realized.
Yeah. And I think, moving on to our next point, I think we're really going to see that in the TV show.
Yeah, see, this is like everything you've said, and kind of just moving this into talking about the TV show now.
Yeah.
I wonder, and this is one thing I kind of already thought of from going off the trailer, but I wonder, and what you're saying now, this feels like we might be leaning into this idea of the MCU getting more adult themed.
Yeah. He's going to be one of the characters they are testing this with, and how they decide to portray him is going to be very telling of the future.
I also get the sense now of the things you've said. I wonder if we get like you know how Fight Club was done?
Yeah.
And like that mindfuck of, oh wait, they're the same person even though the whole film. I feel like the way this is portrayed might be like similar things might be used.
So this is what I was going to say. There's a bit in the trailer where he's driving in a van and he kind of blinks almost, and then he sees a gun in his hand, drops it, and it pans, and a person falls out, and he looks shocked and surprised.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one or two ways they go with this. Either a lot of the show is going to be from one of his personality's point of view, and we're just like cutting into random action sequences as this version of him is waking up, and he's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And then slowly the other personalities start to take over more and more. Or that trailer only showed us like one character's experience.
Ooh, yeah.
Because Mark Spector isn't English, but Oscar Isaac, who's playing Mark Spector and Moon Knight, has an English accent in that. So that's one of his personalities. So I'm wondering if like the first episode is purely like we get lots of him waking up in weird places and stuff. And then slowly we get to see the other stuff that's happening when that personality's asleep.
Yeah, I think going off the trailer, it's definitely gonna start off.
Yeah.
Just showing it from that one.
It's gonna be a lot of everyone going, "What the fuck is going on?" Just like of WandaVision, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna. I wonder if like the first 3 episodes or whatever, each episode is from a different personality's perspective.
Yeah. See, I don't know if they've come up with new personalities for the show or if they're using his traditional 3 or what. None of the traditional personalities seem to suit what his character was doing as like working in a museum, based on what I could see. Again, if someone knows something I don't in the comments, please tell me. But I'm really curious.
My initial thought when you were reading out his different personalities, like the one that is the assassin,
Mark Spector, that's his actual person. That's him. That is his name.
There's a point in the trailer where he answers the phone
and someone goes, "Hello, Mark."
Yeah, and he's like, "Who the fuck is Mark?"
Yeah.
So I think that personality is definitely still in there.
Yeah.
I think whether or not the rich one is, I'm not sure. Because I didn't get the sense of that from anything in the trailer. But then I'm wondering if the New York taxi driver, because this seems to be set in London, whether they
maybe he's a black cab driver.
That, or like he's a museum worker.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's not necessarily a huge issue.
No.
But it will be interesting. There was in the trailer, there's a scene where he's like crouched in an elevator as a big thing walks towards him.
Yeah.
That is Khonshu.
Right, yeah, okay. I presumed.
Yeah. In the trailer, we see Moon Knight in his gear right at the end beating the shit out of a werewolf.
Oh, is that what it is on the floor?
Yeah, that's a werewolf, which is from one of his first stories, I believe. But so there's a couple of bits that I'm still trying to piece together. And again, I'm not claiming to be an expert here, guys. If you have an idea that makes more sense, please let us know in the comments. But there's a bit where you see like a cult leader guy.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that is Randall Spector, his brother.
Oh.
Yeah. But while Randall in the comics, I believe, was an antagonist to him, he is not the main bad guy of this series.
I wonder if he...
So I'm really curious if maybe they use Randall as like Randall's devout to Khonshu and part of a cult that worships Khonshu as an old Egyptian god. And like Mark goes to talk to him about it because he's seeing Khonshu and stuff and he thinks he's going crazy. Or I don't know, but you see what I mean?
Yeah. Or maybe like his brother knows that he has these multiple personalities, or knows one of the other ones, and kind of antagonizes it a bit that way.
And also, the main bad guy of this series is rumored to be Midnight Man, or maybe confirms to be Midnight Man, who is one of his long-running nemesis. But very sadly, yesterday on the day of recording, January 19th, the actor Gaspard Ulliel, who's playing him in the show, died on the Alps in a very sad skiing accident.
Such sad news.
It's really, really sad. He'd been in a couple of other pieces that had, by the sounds of it, been very well received by the acting community, and this was being seen as like a very good chance for his career to accelerate in an upward trajectory. And it's like, I can only imagine he was very excited. He was probably there having a holiday just to get a little bit of alone time before this show exploded onto the internet and his life became insane and super busy. It's just absolutely sad. I know the accident was a collision with another skier. I don't know if the other skier survived. So I mean, I hope they did, and I hope they're okay. But yeah, that's really, really sad. And I mean, it's going to be his last performance as a actor. I really hope it shows how talented he was, and it shows him at his very best.
And I think, like, obviously, I saw one thing online which was like, oh, I wonder what they'll do if there's still stuff to shoot. But I would presume it said they put, like, usually with Disney stuff, like, that's all shot already.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just kind of, I guess the question now lies, like, obviously we haven't seen this series and we don't know where the story goes, but it's a shame, like, if the character is a character that was meant to continue through series, it's a shame that he's now, like, that opportunity is not going to happen anymore for him.
As far as I know in the comics, Midnight Man does pass and then get replaced by a relative. So if they decide they don't want to lose the Midnight Man character, but they want to pay respect to Gaspar, instead of just recasting him, maybe they can go down that route of a relative takes over. But either way, really, really sad. And I can't imagine how the cast who worked with him on such a exciting project and how his family must be feeling right now.
Yeah.
But we'll move back to slightly more cheerful news in the show and his last work that I'm hoping is going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
I think Moon Knight could end up being the best show that Disney Plus has put out thus far. I think it will be better than the other shows.
I'm very interested to see where this fits in timeline wise.
I think it is current. I don't think it's set in the past or far in the future. I think it is where the MCU is at right now.
So I'm also wondering that with it being current is like with the other shows and everything that's kind of been going on at the same time. It's kind of all a bit like we don't know which show's ahead of the others or whatever. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see if there's any kind of solid links given in the show to like, oh, this is going on somewhere else, and like so people you can kind of get a solid feel of where it is in the timeline. Yeah. I have one interesting theory.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm wondering whether we get, because this is a darker sort of themed show compared to some MCU stuff, and the fact you've mentioned there's werewolves. Do we see...
I think we're having the same thought.
Oh, okay. See, great minds. Do we see Kit Harington's Black Knight?
Oh, okay. So we're very similar to each other, but we're not on the exact same page.
Is yours Blade by any chance?
Okay. Yes. So, tiny, very minor spoiler for Eternals. In the second post-credit scene, we see Kit Harington's character find the ebony blade from his family, and then we hear a voice off shot talk to him.
Yeah.
That voice got confirmed to be Mahershala Ali's blade.
Yep, it did.
And obviously, large parts of Eternals were set in London, especially them characters. I would not be upset for one, and I would not be completely shocked if we had mention of someone running around fighting vampire-esque creatures.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be another mention of vampires because it's becoming pretty common now in MCU.
Yeah. But I would be very, very excited for Mahershala Ali's Blade to make a little debut cameo, even if it is again just in a cutscene, but we actually get to see him this time.
Yeah, I think a cameo from Blade, or like my thought with just the Kit Harington thing is like we knew he was in London at the end, and it's like I just wonder if he may appear because he's looking for like other answers about stuff.
Well, I mean, he also worked at a museum alongside Cersei, didn't he?
That's true.
Which is where one of Oscar Isaac's personalities seems to be spending a fair bit of time. So like your idea is also completely plausible. I'm just hoping for Blade because Blade's cooler.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it kind of also would make a bit of sense if Blade's character is kind of sort of going around building his own little team in a way.
See, I wouldn't be against that, but Blade's always been more of a lone wolf. Well, I would be more inclined to see a Blade having if he was to have a decent bit, a little fight with Moon Knight and telling him to stay the fuck away from him. Or just a cameo at the end of the series. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the series, but a cameo at the end going, you need to leave London, or I'm going to New York because there's a big vampire problem over there. Do you want to come with me, or some shit like that? But this is going to be a real outing for the MCU into that adult territory.
Which I'm hopeful for.
And if done right, and if received positively, will push forward a lot of projects they're sitting on.
Yeah, because I'd like... It would be cool if it kind of pushes that forward a bit, and then maybe we see like a... You never know, we may end up in the future getting an R-rated TV show or something on Disney+.
Yeah, but here's the thing with Disney+. They're making all this money. They have the Star section, which they're very clear is for 18. It's for adult content anyway. Yeah. They could very easily just go, we are releasing a Marvel show. Please understand we are going to put it under the Star category on Disney Plus because it is more mature.
Well, they don't even necessarily need to put it under the Star category because, like, the thing with the Disney Plus accounts is you choose if you want to allow adult content or whatever, like adult, like the R-rated stuff. So essentially, it'll be just a case of like this Marvel show's only like you need to kind of agree to it to watch it. Yeah.
But the big concern at this point is Marvel and the MCU is so big. When they do eventually release adult content or more mature content, there are going to be parents screaming, going, I showed my child this and it was very bloody and gory. And all I'll say is, if you're a parent whose child loves Marvel, make sure you read up about what you're going to put on before you show it to them.
Well, yeah, it happened
with It's not Marvel's
Deadpool.
Responsibility to pander.
Did you not hear about it happening with Deadpool, that Ryan Reynolds got some, like, mum being like, I took my kid to watch your film and it was definitely not suitable for kids.
Yeah, and he was like, that's why it was rated 15.
He was like, he just turned around and went, well, read the rating.
Yeah, there's going to be people who moan, but I only want the people who are going to moan about Moon Knight to be people moaning because it wasn't suitable for their child, not because it wasn't a good show.
Yeah, so far everything's leaning, and like their track record with the shows at the moment has been very good. So,
also, as you're a graphic designer, I'm sure you also loved what I'm about to mention. At the very end of the trailer, where he jumped from roof to roof and it turned into the logo.
I thought of this when I saw that, and I'm going to put it out there now. That shot will not exist in the show.
No, it will not be used.
It's 100% was done for the trailer so they could do that cut.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that because it looked fucking sick. So but yeah, unless it's used in like the opening, like credits
sequence.
Yeah, opening sequence.
I actually don't think we'll see it at all. It's the same because if you think like other Disney films, there's things that happen in other Disney films where they theme that like Disney star thing or whatever at the top too.
Yeah.
which I loved.
It's just good marketing.
Oh yeah, 100%. Great marketing.
On to slightly other Marvel adult characters.
Okay.
Daredevil. There's been a rumor update kind of dealio about him. So Charlie Cox has been confirmed by Kevin Feige to be returning to the role of Daredevil. And everyone was like, oh, sweet. So they're just going to pick up the Netflix show where it left off. Apparently, that's not the case. Apparently, they're not going to do a Daredevil project for a couple more years, but instead have Daredevil have lots of cameos in things over the next few years to help push the adult projects into just being accepted, so that when it's time for his show, people are already used to the more adult projects and they can't really shock anyone.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because Daredevil's a character that a lot of people are going to be interested in. If people are already a bit more used to the adult content, when they say Daredevil's got more adult content in it, less people are going to go, oh, that's ridiculous.
It also just gives them like the better freedom. If it's further down the line and they've already started like kind of drip feeding some more adult themed stuff, like it's just easier for them to bring it out and it not like it's just going to give them more creative freedom for that show.
Exactly.
Also, thinking about it, it kind of, with them not picking up straight off, it kind of plays into that theory that I had read and put out there, I think it was last episode, about the fact that maybe he got blipped. So if you think about it, like if he's come back from being blipped, him appearing in other shows and films and kind of like cameo or like teaming up with other heroes at any point kind of plays into the idea of him like trying to figure out what the hell's gone on and piece things back together.
If they use him as cameos in other lesser known character shows, he will add legitimacy to them shows to people, because Daredevil's a very famous character even before the MCU and before the Netflix shows. So I think for slightly smaller character they might want to launch, he could be a really good way of getting people who are iffy to watch it.
Yeah.
Especially with all of the internet Charlie Cox, Matt Murdock simps.
Yeah, there's so many of them.
And I'm going to make another seamless segue here. Other TV shows that are impressing me right now. I know you haven't been able to watch it, so I'm sorry you're going to have to suffer through it, alright? Peacemaker. Wow. Give James Gunn the keys to the Kingdom. I know I was gushing over him last week about how beautiful Suicide Squad was and how it was the perfect kind of comic book movie style. Obviously, both the Guardians films were phenomenal. And once again, he has slapped it out the park with Peacemaker. Only the first 3 episodes are out as of now. I don't know when the others are coming. I will watch them when they do, and I will report back. John Cena, I don't know whether he's got better at acting or whether James Gunn's script and direction has made him look like a brilliant actor or what, but my God, he is brilliant in this. You must have seen the opening sequence online.
I haven't, actually.
Okay, at some point you need to watch that because it's give it an Oscar. I know it's a TV show. Give it an Oscar.
I avoided like looking for anything because I tried looking up if I could watch it in the UK, but it doesn't seem to be. It's not out properly in the UK yet, is it?
So yeah, HBO Max have done nothing to really show it over here. I can confirm I've not done anything illegal to watch it. I've not been illegally streaming it, and I do not recommend that anyone does that because that is terrible. But
you just got inside hookup because of work stuff.
Yeah, my girlfriend has a job working with Warner Media. They have an internal company app that allows them to watch certain things, as long as they don't distribute it. And I watched it via that. But yeah, again, very, very good series. And I urge anyone to watch it, but do not watch it illegally.
Yeah, Warner Brothers, if you're listening, I would quite happily have access to that internal app if you want to sponsor the...
just like, I don't... And I think this is a big problem with DC, is they're not They're not. They're treating America like it's the only territory.
The problem you've got is like with MCU being on Disney and Disney Plus just launched everywhere. It's like they give it to everyone at the same time. DC needs to come up with the thing that confuses me.
Even if HBO Max just wants to partner with someone.
Well, that's the thing. HBO Max with so they also did this is slightly off topic of comic stuff, but they did the Friends reunion and the Harry Potter reunion, and they were both shown
up with people,
Now TV.
Didn't they?
It was all done through Now TV. So why?
Yeah, I don't know why this one has fallen through.
I'm wondering if it's kind of like they just do that partnership, obviously show by show or whatever it is. But it'd be cool if they did a more solid partnership of.
Yeah. James Gunn was saying on Twitter before the launch of this, he was working really hard with HBO Max to try and find a way to get it available in the UK. But clearly it's all just fallen through. It's absolutely... it sucks. It really does. Because this show is something that should be enjoyed by the masses. If Disney aren't writing up an offer to James Gunn to direct a TV series right now, I don't know what they're doing. Because
TV series.
You say to that man, what character do you want to tell a story of? Here's a budget for a 9-episode series. Go have fun with it. Because he absolutely is a mastermind of taking tiny, silly, insignificant characters and making them fucking awesome.
Give me a Rocket Raccoon origin TV series.
No. Give us someone brand new. Give us a fucking villain, but a really goofy villain. Do you know what I mean? I can't get over how good the show was. It literally had me in fits of laughter.
Well, if anything, it's just giving me more time to go watch Suicide Squad 2.
Yeah, exactly. Because you do need to watch it's not Suicide Squad 2, it's the only Suicide Squad film. There wasn't one before this. I refuse to acknowledge it.
Well, I didn't mind the first one, so...
I get angrier about its existence every day. It tricked me for about 45 minutes into enjoying it. And then as every step I took away from my chair in the cinema, I started to hate it more as the plot holes came to me. But yeah, I need more of it.
I need to go watch that.
And to those who have been able to watch it, Eagly is the GOAT. And they'll know what that means. And if they disagree with me, they can leave and never come back.
Or just leave a comment.
No. Eagly's the GOAT. No one's allowed to disagree.
I do have to ask though, what was it like watching 3 episodes where you can't see the main actor?
It was weird, but thankfully with the big metal helmet, I still knew where the head was.
Okay, that's very handy.
Yeah.
Great character design.
But it's crazy when I've watched this show and I just want to see if there's any Peacemaker comics I can get my hand on reasonably cheap to work out just how much of a masterclass James Gunn has pulled off.
Honestly, I feel like the last week, because of Moon Knight as well, you're just going to be poor because you're going to spend all your money on comics.
Yeah. I recently started a new job, for those who don't know, and my first paycheck's coming in the not too distant future. And mentally, I'm trying to work out realistically, how many comics can I buy without being stupid? And right now, I'm struggling to convince myself that spending my entire paycheck on comic books isn't a bad idea.
Do you know that I had a friend he's a music producer, and he used to do the same thing but with records. So we get paid weekly, and throughout the week he would put whatever records he wanted into a basket, and on payday he would just hit buy, and he did that every week.
It's a rough one out there. If any comic book shop, I know it's rough out there for comic book shops, that's particularly successful wants to sponsor the podcast and send us comics, we'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
We'd be okay with
Marvel,
that.
DC, send it direct from the store. Sure.
Yeah. We'll do hot off the press stuff.
Unreleased issues.
Yeah, like whatever you want, guys. I mean, just comics. Yay, comics.
Isn't Marvel got 2 new Captain America comics or something coming soon?
Maybe. I really struggle to keep up with comic book news.
I just saw some trailer on the Marvel YouTube channel about it.
What I will say is, if you're listening to this and you decided you do want to get into comic books, try and find a local comic book store to support as best you can.
Yeah.
Occasionally buying off Amazon for a bit of ease and saving a bit of money is, of course, completely fine. But if there is a comic book store that's relatively close to you, try and support it. They're dying out. They need community support. And they're good people in there. They know their stuff. And if you want to start reading comics and you don't know where to start, the best place to go is a comic book store, because the people in there, whether it's other customers who are regulars there or the people who work there, will be able to talk to you and make good recommendations
100%.
about what you should try. So I could not urge you enough to go and support your local comic book shop.
Local comic book stores, I know from my own experience, like if there's a specific comic you know of and you go and you can't find it and you ask them, often if they don't have it in, they will try and get it in for you.
Yeah, they'll order it in for you. They're good people. And I'm very excited once I get paid to my local comic book store and browse and have a chat with another huge nerd like me. And like, I've got a lot of the same characters right now. I want some comics from other characters, so I think what I'm going to do is go and get some. And it may well end up being some Moon Knight comics because I want to read up before the show drops.
I wonder if Moon Knight comic sales will go up.
Yes.
On this
one. Yeah, they already have. They already have.
Yeah.
I was looking at it today, and I googled Moon Knight when I was trying to do some research the other day, and it said trending right now. And so I don't know if it's the same for everyone. It might just be the way my Google account is set up. But when you search something that's being searched a lot for purchasing reasons, it shows you recently bought stuff at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So I searched Moon Knight, and just on my normal page, like results page, shopping stuff appeared at the top from where people have been buying Moon Knight comics. It's a very common thing with Marvel stuff when a new project is super close. Especially the sales for that character pops up.
Yeah, and I guess especially for characters like Moon Knight that are lesser known.
Yeah, you'll get losers like me who are like, I don't know a lot about this character. I must know more. I must be the most well-spoken person in the room. And then there'll be other people who go, that guy looks cool. I want to know more. And then
there's me who thinks he looks cool, but waits till his friends buy the comics to tell him.
But I'm really, if anyone has any good comic book recommendations for me, by the way, down in the comments, feel free to leave them. Then I can try and write off as a business expense or something, I guess. Sorry, Mr. Taxman, I have no tax for you this year because comics. That'd be a fun one to try and explain.
Honestly, it would class as research material. So
yeah. But I feel like we just need like more people to listen before I'll be able to actively get away with it.
You've got to be making an income off of it to class it as an expense.
Your business is losing £12,000 a year. You can't keep writing all this off as the tax allowance.
It's like I can get away with writing my like software stuff and all my graphic design, but like games, not quite. Like can class
make some money off streaming, and you probably can.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what the big streamers do in America, innit? They spend $400 on fucking Fortnite skins, and then write it all off as tax. Make a video about
it, and it's classed as work, and then But before we get into Superhero Showdown for the week, there's one thing that I don't know if you saw. Just a little thing that is Black Panther has resumed production.
Oh, I did see that.
With
Letitia, right?
Letitia.
Is it Letitia or Latia? I don't know now.
I don't know.
I was really confident with Letitia, so you said Letitia. No, I didn't think there was an SH in it.
No. Well, I don't know how it's pronounced. Anyway, she's recovered from whatever injury she got on set, and they have resumed production. There was obviously all the different talk about where she was going to be replaced and stuff because of her
stance on COVID.
Yeah, but it seems whatever problems there were worked out, and
I'm hearing rumours she might have finally conceded and got vaccinated. I don't think any of them reports have been confirmed.
Yeah, see, I didn't look into that. I just I presume whatever issues were resolved.
So there's been, I want to say, 3 delays. 2 of them were her getting COVID or COVID scares. And then she got hurt and flew back to England when she got hurt because she's English. Then
getting back
she
in the country.
couldn't get back out to America for shooting because of her vaccination status or something.
Right.
So I feel like the rumor that she's finally got vaccinated is coming from nothing's really changed and now she's out there filming.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if that is true or not. I hope she has got vaccinated. I think it's a very important thing to do. But I'm more so very happy that Black Panther is now underway again.
Exactly. It's back in production and hopefully still hits whatever release date they were aiming for.
Yes. Okay.
But
Are we
I think it's that time
Are we
of
ready
the
for the
week.
Superhero Showdown? It is. Okay, so
I don't know what it is this week.
I did send it to you, but you didn't respond to it, so I don't know if you end up seeing it or not.
Maybe not.
So this has been kindly provided by my girlfriend.
Okay.
She just gave Lex Luthor versus Tony Stark. Now I know Lex Luthor isn't technically a superhero, but I think we can include supervillains.
I agree.
So while I'm okay to go with MCU Tony Stark, we have not had a particularly all-powerful live-action depiction of Lex Luthor. So I think no matter what, we have to go comic book Lex Luthor. I will leave whether you want comic book Tony Stark or MCU Tony Stark up to you.
I think I guess it's more fair if we do comic book.
Okay. That's fine by me.
Yeah, I say we do just to make it.
Okay. So, obviously, you have Tony Stark, Iron Man, billionaire, makes all his little gadgets and shit. Part of the Avengers. And then you have Lex Luthor, the antagonist of Superman, hates aliens because he's terrified of aliens. He's been president. He has been the head of, I don't want to call it the Injustice League. It's got a different name, Legion of Doom, maybe. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's Legion of Doom.
And he's, again, to be fair, Lex Luthor's essentially an evil Iron Man. I know he doesn't have the suits of armor, although he has created big ass robots at times.
He has got a suit, I think, that he occasionally wears. But yeah, he doesn't have
but he is very much a Tony Stark vein of character, super rich, super intelligent, with a huge ego. The only real difference is Lex Luthor met a god and panicked. Tony Stark met a god and became his friend. So I think to start with, the big difference that we need to assess is the difference between comic book Iron Man and MCU Iron Man. Comic book Iron Man, I would argue, is less skilled in his armor.
Okay.
And has a little ego. And is also more intelligent. So taking that into account, we've got a slightly smarter, slightly more egotistical, slightly less skilled in using the armor version of Iron Man fighting Lex Luthor. So it's interesting because Tony Stark rocks up in just his armor. Yep. Lex Luthor is probably rocking up with like an army of drones and some kind of big mech thing.
Yeah, probably his own suit of armor, to be honest.
Yeah, but he tends not to go small. He tends to go for like big ass things.
Oh yeah, it's like
War Machine on steroids.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think.
Well, yeah, he's going up against Superman on the regular. He needs a thicker boy. I genuinely don't know.
So I feel like initial kind of thought is I think Lex Luthor, because he's used to fighting the likes of, say, Superman and these other kind of big, kind of powerful foes, I think his initial just like strength and power would potentially be beating Iron Man. I just wonder if with Iron Man's intelligence and whether he has kind of like the ability, because obviously in the I know in MCU he swaps suits quite regularly in occasions.
Yeah. He does have a lot of suits in the comics as well.
If we presume that he could swap suits on the fly, I wonder if Iron Man wins this fight purely on the fact that he adapts better for Lex Luthor and how to beat him. That's kind of where my initial thoughts are going.
Yeah. I see one of two things happening. I either see Tony Stark getting overwhelmed by all of the little drones and Lex and his big arse robot. And that just being too much for him. Or I see Tony being as smart as he is, picking off the drones, then calling in a Hulkbuster armor to fight Lex one-on-one.
Yeah, like I think there's a higher chance that Tony Stark manages to kind of adapt to the situation and his foe quicker than Lex Luthor can kind of adapt to Iron Man.
Yeah, I would say Iron Man is more adaptive than Lex Luthor, that is for sure. We've also got an account in here. Villains, as a general rule, are more powerful.
Yeah.
Anytime a hero gets depicted as going a bit evil, they become more dangerous. So if we say Lex Luthor and Tony Stark are very similar, you could argue Lex Luthor being an evil Tony Stark is therefore more powerful.
Yeah.
And also, are we saying in this situation that Lex Luthor is currently president of the United States again?
I don't know, are we?
But see what I mean? Like, it's a really tricky one. I'm going to say he's not president because I think if he is president, that's just too much to go up against.
Yeah.
Tony destroys the drones, calls in a Hulkbuster-esque armor, and then they go toe to toe. Does Tony win?
I'm gonna say I think Tony wins purely on like what I've been saying, like he adapts more to Lex Luthor and beats him that way. I think he manages to eventually outsmart Lex Luthor quicker than Lex Luthor can.
Yeah, I think Lex is more ruled by emotions than Tony is. So when he sees his drones get destroyed and Tony turn up in big armor to fight him one-on-one, I feel like he kind of gets angry, he panics, and the cold calculus of Tony Stark deals with it pretty swiftly.
Yeah, I would agree on that.
But there is definitely a version of this fight where Tony just gets caught off guard due to his arrogance of the power of the drones and gets swatted.
Yeah, and even just just the start of the fight, I think potentially Lex Luthor gets like the upper hand at the beginning, but
I think I'm giving it Tony, but on like a 60-40. They fight 10 times. I'm saying Tony's only winning 6 out of the 10. But I think it's definitely a fight I'd love to see put on the big screen.
Yeah, it would be a cool fight to see.
The back and forth the characters could create and stuff would be very, very fun to watch.
I'd love
for sure.
Like whether I actually doubt this will ever happen, but it'd be cool if there's like a special on Disney Plus or something one time, like they do some kind of DC Marvel crossover, like come to some agreement to kind of do something.
I know it's off
fun.
the Superhero Showdown, so we try not to discuss new topics here. So I'm just going to make this really, really short before we go into our saying goodbyes. There is a character who is co-owned by DC and Marvel.
Oh.
This character, I forget their name, and I hate that I've forgotten their name. I want to say their name's the Monitor, but I feel like DC have another character called the Monitor. I'm getting them confused with. But basically, their entire job is stopping the DC and Marvel universes from colliding.
Okay.
So after the comic series where there was a crossover, this character sent the Marvel characters back to their universe, and their sole job is to stop these universes from colliding, and to make this like more than just a character on a piece of paper. They shared the rights to the character as well.
That's cool.
I thought that was really cool as well.
Yeah,
I
that's cool.
I might do a bit more research about the character and discuss them with you guys next week, because they are quite a cool and quirky character.
Yeah,
I think that's all from us.
Remember to leave who you think wins.
Yes, for the love of God, tell us who wins. I think this is the closest we've been on. We're not sure who's going to win that.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, we're so unsure. Whoever comments for their character the most wins, I guess. Let the people decide.
We can, yeah. And I mean, also, I will add, last week I managed to get this to work, but if you are listening on Spotify, there should be a poll. If you're on mobile, I don't know if this works. I don't think this is a feature on PC yet.
Yeah, a lot of stuff doesn't seem to work on PC.
Yeah, Spotify's features seem very mobile heavy, but there should be a poll under this episode, if you're listening over on Spotify, where you can vote for who you think wins in the Superhero Showdown.
Yeah, and please do that. Let us know what you think. If you're listening on Spotify, follow us there. If you're on mobile, make sure you give us a rating, preferably 5 stars. Same goes if you're listening through Apple Podcasts. Follow us there so you don't miss any episodes, and leave us a rating, a review. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. Google Podcasts, I don't think anyone's listened to us there yet. So if you are, you are probably the first. Again, make sure you follow so you don't miss. You can catch the entire podcast on YouTube, and also on our YouTube and TikTok are thoughts from the previous week's podcasts that are cut up into little bits. So if you don't want to listen to the full last 2 podcasts right now, but you want to listen to the other Superhero Showdowns, they're all in there, split up into 1 minute long parts. You can go through and see what you think. Make sure you follow us on Twitter for any updates. We tend to tweet out any news that happens on the day, and our instant reactions to it. We are cutscene combos absolutely everywhere. If you see a cutscene combos that doesn't has our logo on any of the social medias, report them. They're fake. Get them banned.
We own the NFT.
We are the only cutscene combos. Thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend, and we will see you next week.
We will indeed.